Good morning to you, and thank you for finding time to be with us. This is Good Morning Africa, and as usual, we're coming to you from Kenya's capital here in Nairobi. A beautiful sunny morning it is here, and thank you so much. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're tuned in today. My name is Miriam Ogotu, and I'll start us off by looking at the headlines of the leading newspapers, and then after that, we shall look at some of the stories and have a conversation around them. The main headline on the Daily Nation this morning: Ruto's big day, 2 days after firing a broadside against President Uhuru Kenyatta, and just hours after receiving political defectors in Embu and Meru. A bullish William Ruto today stands in front of 4,350 UDA delegates inside Kasarani Stadium in his quest to be officially named the Kenya Kwanza presidential flag bearer, setting the stage for a duel with Azimio's Odinga. And I think that event has already sort of started. The deputy president is making his way to the Kasarani Stadium. The story is on page 4 and 5. KRA now snooping on businesses. All ATR machines required to be connected to Times Tower for daily sales monitoring. Alcohol breweries fitted with special gadgets that relay production volumes data remotely. And CCTV cameras will allow the taxman to track what the farms are producing in real time, and flagged traders will be required to seek KRA permission to transact business the next day. That is all. The full story is on back page on the Daily Nation. End of the road for Raila in Forest Road assault, that is on page 9, and Jubilee's U-turn on Raila's deputy. For months, the Jubilee side of Azimio has insisted on a deputy president position as a condition for supporting the candidature of Odinga, but now the party's vice chairman David Mudavadi says that that's no longer a priority. But if Jubilee is not actively angling for a deputy president position, what is it going for? That is on page 12 and 13. Okay, and then principal arrested on first day of KCSE, that is on page 2 and 3. In the Standard newspaper, the main headline: trouble in Azimio. Wiper leader now stirs fresh controversy, raising questions about Raila, raising questions about deal that endorsed Raila for president, and One Kenya Alliance allies appear to be reading from different scripts. Okay. Confusion galore, I suppose. That is on page 6. And double intake plan as KCSE exam start, that is on page 4. And talks resume, but Ukraine under siege, that is on page 36. Ruto's big day as he is set to take UDA flag, you'll find that on page 7. And petrol prices up as the poor get kerosene relief, that is on page 12. The Star newspaper: Mudavadi, Rigathi best for Ruto, that is according to a poll. But Peter Kenneth remains the favourite to deputize Raila, surpassing Kalonzo. The story is on page 4 and 5. And prime border suspect in Forest Road motorist sexual assault arrested. That is on page 2. And death and cheating mar day 1 of KCSE exam. And a new proposal outlaws sex and bullying scenes in videos, that is on page 2. And big day for Ruto as UDA crowns him presidential flag bearer. You'll find that on page 7. So I'll bring us later the rest of the headlines from across the continent. But for right now, I'd like to bring in our panelist and in-house analyst, Daniel Wesonga from Nairobi. Daniel Wesonga, a very good morning to you.
Yes, good morning to you, Miriam. Good morning to our viewers and everyone who is joining us this morning. Sorry, I'm not joining you from Nairobi, but in the county of Kisumu this particular morning. I was here to check on some of the legacy projects that the president has been rolling out in the county, and that is why I'm still finalizing on some few things here and there, and thereafter we're going to be reporting on whatever we've been able to get on the ground.
All right, so how is the lakeside?
Yeah, the lakeside is quite sunny and of course a bit dry. So a majority of the people are anticipating that maybe going into the month of April, probably we're going to be having some rains coming over. And of course, those ones who are doing farming are also looking forward to that, so that they can be able to farm and be able to produce some food to keep them going for the rest of the year. We understand it has been a very, very tough year owing to the fact that the pandemic wasted a lot of time that people would be doing other economic and better activities. But now with the COVID pandemic subsiding, I believe everything is going to be okay.
Okay, thank you so much. And before we get into that headline on the Star newspaper, which will form the basis of our conversation this morning. Oh, by the way, I was in the lakeside over the weekend. The sun there is like to the power of 10. It's too hot, but very well. So let's look at Akere now snooping on businesses. The story is on the back page of the Daily Nation. Anxiety is spreading across Kenya's business community as the taxman rolls out a series of new tax surveillance systems that will hand the state real-time access to financial data for scrutiny. In a bid to tighten supervision, the Kenya Revenue Authority announced installation of flow meters and CCTV cameras in alcohol factories, guaranteeing the state round-the-clock information on the operation of manufacturers to curb tax evasion. KRA also announced that all electronic tax registers, ETRs, are to be connected to its system for monitoring of daily sales. The two systems will give KRA a view of goods as they leave the production line to the point of exchange between retailers and consumers, collecting what is due at each point along the supply chain. This is an effort to seal loopholes where traders and manufacturers declare the amount of goods sold or produced to minimize taxes due. KRA is not joking. It has employed technology and it is committed to getting what belongs to KRA. Give Caesar what belongs to Caesar. What do you make of this new move by KRA?
Miriam, I believe the first duty of a responsible, patriotic citizen is to make sure that they are able to remit their taxes. Remember, taxes that we are able to receive essential services and be able to actually also allow the government to be able to bankroll its infrastructural roadmap and be able to bring projects that will alleviate and elevate the livelihoods and the lives of the people of Kenya. So if we don't pay taxes, then we're not going to see hospitals having drugs, having enough personnel to be able even to treat the patients, and we are not also going to be able to see the government also maybe carpeting roads and making sure that service delivery is actually top-notch in most of the government institutions. So the taxman needs to collect this money so that we can be able to pump it into the bloodstream of our governance systems and developmental purposes in infrastructure and other sectors that actually need that particular money. So I think that will be great because in the past we've been having a system where there's a lot of leakage in terms of people who evade taxes and who do unscrupulous business without really maybe paying their fair share of what they ought to pay to the government. And the practice of paying taxes to the government goes all the way back, even during the days of Jesus, where he said to some Pharisees that give Caesar what belongs to Caesar and God what belongs to God. So every citizen has an obligation of making sure that they pay their taxes to the relevant authorities so that they are able to receive better quality services. Miriam, I submit.
All right. Thank you so much. And of course, in a very short while, we shall be going to perhaps Kasarani to bring you the live events there of Deputy President Ruto today being endorsed as the flag bearer of the United Democratic Party. Is this the point in time that perhaps now Deputy President is expected to resign officially?
Perhaps, Miriam, if you are a straightforward society, a society who really values principles and a society which is driven by integrity, then we will have had William Ruto resigning and concentrating on campaigning and strengthening UDA to be able to face Azimio. But like we have been seeing before, since this deputy president became a rogue deputy president, he absconded duty and disappeared from the scene in terms of supporting the president in finishing his Big Four agenda and also leaving a legacy behind. So we might see him continue holding on to office, benefiting from all the combines that accompany his office and all the perks that come with it and the salary, without necessarily maybe having it in mind that he actually has declared to run on a different party. He has been endorsed by that particular party and he's become a member of it duly by law. And therefore, which means that he ceases to be the member of Jubilee Party, which he was actually nonetheless banished from. He was expunged from Jubilee Party. And legally, that means that he ceases to be the deputy president. We haven't seen President Uhuru Kenyatta, who they ran on the same ticket, denounce the Jubilee Party and say that he has resigned from the Jubilee Party. But for William Ruto, technically and legally, he's out of Jubilee Party because the law says that you cannot be a member of two parties at the same time. And once you shift your allegiance from one party, which you are elected on, and begins a new dalliance or a new agenda on a different party, then you should do the honorable thing of resigning. And therefore, that resignation actually goes down with your the mandate or maybe the office you also hold, which is a token that you benefited maybe by the virtue of being in that maybe political party. So I anticipate that he will do so if he's a gentleman enough. But Miriam, we are dealing with a man who has always maybe preferred to operate within the confines of impunity, lawlessness, and corruption. And that is why perhaps we might not see him resigning. But I believe, Miriam, like you say, this is the moment that we will have actually seen a statesman he is, or maybe he ought to be, by resigning and maybe now focusing on his UDA shenanigans. But nonetheless, Miriam, this is William Ruto we are dealing with, a man who has never worked anywhere other than doing a wheeler dealership and becoming a cartel at a very early age when he finished campus. You remember the story he narrated on how he bought his first car. They says a plot of land which belonged to government in Eldoret town, and together with his cronies were able to sell it, and he bought his first car from there. Mm-hmm. He has no history of even working hard for his life and earning money and growing his wealth. But today he's a billionaire with 5 choppers and so many properties. He's the third largest land owner in this country since 2013. Where he got that land within a period less than 1 decade is a mystery, Miriam. There is no industry he runs, a manufacturing industry he runs, apart from the few hotels and the few farms he has. So, Miriam, I believe this is a man who is never straight, who is never true to himself, neither is he true to the people of Kenya. So therefore, in as much as we expect that this would have been an opportune time for him to actually resign and focus on his political ambitions, I believe that is far from William Ruto, and he cannot do that. I believe he'll cling to power up to the last day of 8th of August 2022, because he knows whatever his office comes from, and he will actually want to milk Kenyans up to the very bitter end. I submit.
Okay, so the Deputy President William Ruto today walks into the Moi International Sports Complex, Kasarani, to secure the endorsement of the United Democratic Alliance (UDA) for his presidential candidature and get its guidance on forging coalitions with partners. And as I mentioned there earlier, we will be going there live in a couple of minutes. But before we get to that, there are other issues that I'd like for us to look at, and on the front page of, first of all, before I even get to the Star and see how Mudavadi and Rigathi according to a poll, best for Ruto, and of course, Peter Kenneth remains the favorite to deputize Raila. We'll go into that poll in a short bit. But the Standard newspaper, the main headline: trouble in Azimio, Wiper leader now stirs fresh controversy, raising questions about deal that endorsed Raila for president, and One Kenya Alliance appear to be reading from different scripts. The story is on page 6. And contradictions and confusion surrounding the finer details of the Azimio coalition agreement have revealed the mistrust and political intrigues that preceded and followed the unveiling of ODM leader Raila Odinga as the coalition's flag bearer at the weekend. Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka yesterday said it was unlikely that the Secretary General of the parties that signed the agreement probably do not know what they signed, raising questions about the details of the deal. A total of 25 parties signed the coalition agreement at the KICC in Nairobi. What is Kalonzo Musyoka telling us? What are you hearing him to be saying?
Miriam, I believe Kalonzo Musyoka should be the politician, of a long-standing politician. He has been for all over maybe right now 40 years, in politics, because I believe he got into politics early, maybe in 1980, around 1989, 88, thereabout. And with time, I believe he ought to have matured in politics and known whatever he is supposed to speak in public and whatever should be kept within the confines of the political realms and those who he has confidence with. And owing to the fact that he told us that the reason why he actually obliged to support Raila Odinga for a third time is because he looked at the bigger picture and put the nation ahead of his interests. And therefore, it should end at that. This unnecessary bickering and afterward maybe exoneration is not quite worthwhile. It actually pokes holes into his demeanor and his maybe even level of trust, because we don't expect Kalonzo Musyoka, a politician of his stature and his experience, to come out giving nitty-gritties of whatever discussion there were about whatever happened at KICC, whereas every Kenyan was watching. The president has had so many meetings, confidential meetings with Raila Odinga, and we've never known about them. And even that, the other day, Raila Odinga just mentioned that we had so many meetings with President Uhuru Kenyatta, some at night, and he never came out to give the nitty-gritties of those particular meetings. So, Miriam, you will be trusted, you'll be respected, and you'll be carried in high esteem, depending with the kind of person you are. If you are the kind of person who goes into a meeting and before you leave a meeting, all the details of whatever you discussed are out there in the media and in the public limelight, then you truly will lose that trust. And that is very, very dangerous for a politician. A politician should cultivate a culture where they can be trustworthy, where they can be depended on, where they can be magnanimous enough and of high wisdom, so that they know how to balance their words and they know when to talk and when not to talk. So I believe whatever Kalonzo is saying is that he's still dissatisfied with whichever maybe decision he made, and having in mind that they already appended their signature to the MOU, there's nothing he can be able to do. But, that is not needed at the moment. At the moment, we already know One Kenya Alliance has an MOU. They have signed a pact with the Right Honorable Raila Odinga to be able to work together to clinch the presidency come the August 9th of this year. So all these other shenanigans might only work against the coalition, because you don't want to be talking about how you're strategizing the next rally, but we still have someone who is talking about whatever happened in the past. Even in the Bible, when God ordered Lot and his wives to proceed ahead and maybe escape from the city of Sodom and Gomorrah, he told them not to look back, because whoever looks back might end up being destroyed. And that is the risk that Kalonzo Musyoka is actually running. And in this case, if Kalonzo is actually bringing complications and all these small acrimonies to Azimio la Umoja, you see it is not actually affecting Kalonzo alone, but the entire coalition. And in politics, perception is everything. You have to appear as if you are united, even if you are not. The moment you appear that you are not united as a team, and especially the principles, then it's going to poke holes in the stability and the image of the coalition in particular. And the implication of that is that most of the supporters are going to lose confidence with the coalition. And even that there will be supporters, people who haven't made up their minds, which is a sizable number. You always see them in the opinion polls who are maybe preempting about or maybe thinking about joining Azimio will be a bit hesitant because no one wants to go into a house whose roof is leaking. And therefore, Kalonzo Musyoka should spare Azimio la Umoja the shenanigans and the tantrums. He should even respect the president, that the president was a patron of whatever happened in Kasarani the other day. And therefore, just being a gentleman, being magnanimous and being of good temperament. He has been a vice president of this country. Let him seek wisdom while handling such matters. Those are words which shouldn't be coming out at this particular moment. If he took William Ruto's money, if we ate someone's money that we did not know, let him tell us so that we put out there a pay bill number, we contribute the money for him, and we go pay that debt. Okay. Because the way he's behaving, it's like he ate someone's money, but because he loves Kenya more than the person he ate the money from, then he's actually divided between two roads, and therefore there's this kind of a confusion, a fire of confusion that is consuming him. Let him not go particular route, Miriam. I submit.
All right, very well said, Daniel Wesonga. Now, initially, Mr. Musyoka, a former vice president, had suggested that the deal was between Azimio la Umoja movement and One Kenya Alliance, while indicating the deal entailed changing the name of the coalition to Azimio One Kenya Alliance. And according to a coalition agreement, according to what the Constitution says, you can't have two coalitions merging. It has to be individual parties coming up and forming a coalition. So by Kalonzo demanding something that he knows is not within the precepts of the law, I don't know what that is, because even the registrar of political parties, Anne Waiguru, said, not Anne Waiguru, but Miss Anne Deritu, not Waiguru, she said it was not possible for two coalitions to form a coalition party. It's not possible. It is individual parties. And we saw Kanu yesterday coming up and, correcting Kalonzo or Kenya Alliance within that. And I think maybe that is what Martha Karua was pushing for. But a coalition, according to the rules and the law, can only be formed by individual parties coming together to form the umbrella that is the coalition, not another coalition merging with another coalition. So it's not possible. So what Kalonzo wanted, the Azimio Kenya Moja, coalition, that cannot be in the offing. And so even yesterday, KANU, a constituent party of both One Kenya Alliance and Azimio, appeared to differ with Mr. Musyoka by stating that parties signed, as I said, their Azimio deal as individual outfits, not as a coalition. So do you think maybe that was the departure point between Martha Karua, who was in One Kenya Alliance, until the very time that Kalonzo decided to support Raila's presidency?
First and foremost, maybe I'll really just to bring to perspective maybe the contentious issues in the One Kenya Alliance parties coalition agreement. And I had the opportunity to have the first-hand document, which was shared to me with one of the people who were drafting the coalition agreement. And initially, it had a clause that once you sign the pact, there's no way you could leave. And Martha Karua was a bit quite uneasy about that. So when they first said that they're going to be signing, they were supposed to sign on a Tuesday of the other week, and they pushed it forward maybe by a week, what they termed as time to allow them to be able to iron out maybe clauses, I think, that are not quite well maybe crafted. But the most critical of it was the clause that allows members, parties to actually leave the coalition at any time they feel they are aggrieved, or maybe they feel that the coalition no longer stands for what maybe they believe in. And to me, that actually was a strategy, or maybe a loophole introduced by Martha Karua to ensure that maybe if One Kenya Alliance joins Azimio, she's gonna bolt out using that clause, because it said the member parties can leave the coalition on notice at any time, regarded that they notify other members. So I believe that was a a loosened up bolt in that coalition maybe deal. So to me, I think first and foremost, Martha Karua is not in One Kenya Alliance family. One of her feet is actually with Moses Kuri in the Mount Kenya Unity Forum, and another feet is actually in One Kenya Alliance. And that is why she even never attended the KICC Azimio One Kenya Alliance coalition. And of course, we might see her maybe in future standing alone or maybe going with UDA. But more still, she has been speaking the same language as Moses Kuria and many other imprudent individuals who have been insulting the president, which is something that we cannot tolerate in Azimio la Umoja. You know, Martha Karua, I believe, is not a politician who should actually be given much eminence, because even in 2017 presidential elections, Abduba Dida was ahead of her, you know, with 10,000 votes, while she was getting 43,000 votes. Abduba Dida had 53,000 votes. Peter Kenneth had twice as much as Martha Karua. And therefore, I don't see what kind of importance actually she will bring on table, other than just maybe the gender balance and the national outlook. So to me, she's an non-starter, and we shouldn't give her much eminence. And maybe to answer your question, I believe the point of departure between Martha Karua, maybe One Kenya Alliance or Kalonzo Musyoka, is not because of maybe the way maybe they believe how coalitions should be formed, or maybe what the law says about coalition formation. Rather, it's a matter of principle. One is cascading towards, you know, Kalonzo knew that ultimately he's going to end up with Azimio la Umoja. Martha Karua is actually half Moses Kuria, half herself. And therefore, she knew at one point she will never join Azimio, and at one point she might end up with UDA. So that is what is at play. For Kalonzo Musyoka, I cannot speak for him, because he has been treating us, he has been taking us through a roller coaster of emotions since we started talks with him to join Azimio, and therefore I don't know where he stands, because I never expected, even after having signed the MOU at the KICC, he will come out again to lament about maybe the nitty-gritties of the coalition and what he thinks maybe happened and all that. So to me, I think we are dealing with two individuals here who are a bit filthy in their stand, who are undecided, who don't know where they're headed to, and who do not maybe perhaps know where they want to belong. So I think it's not a matter of the coalition law, but I believe it's of personal principles, personal interests, and personal opinions the individuals hold. But like you said, the law stipulates that there is no way two coalitions can actually come together to form a double, or maybe some kind of some two coalition coming together to form a double coalition. That is not permitted by the law, but individual parties can come and sign agreements to be into a coalition. Okay. So I'll just tell Kalonzo Musyoka what the governor for Makueni, Kivuta Kibwana, told him. He should not bring confusion into Azimio la Umoja. Miriam, we can never have something called Azimio One Kenya Alliance. We either dissolve One Kenya Alliance and come up with Azimio, or perhaps we just get another name for the coalition altogether. But bringing Azimio One Kenya Alliance, we're going to end up with the same problem we had in the second term of President Uhuru Kenyatta, even the first term, where we had two centers of power. The president is running the government on this side, and the deputy president is also running a pseudo government within government. And we do not want to do that. If Kalonzo wants to join Azimio la Umoja, he should accept that he found a house which had already been constructed all the way to the roof, and the finishing were done. So there's no way we're going to be demolishing walls, adding a bedroom here, demolishing a window, replacing it with a door. That is going to wreck the house. So all he can do is to just come into the house and be a member of the house without disorienting anything that is there. Otherwise, apart from that, I believe he'll actually be wrecking the ship from within, which is unacceptable, Miriam. So to me, I think Kalonzo Musyoka should actually be coming in to reinforce Azimio la Umoja, and I really want to see him also campaigning in one trail with Raila Odinga, or maybe taking part of Raila Odinga's team and campaigning with them across the country, and later on come and march together from mega rallies within the mega counties as maybe we saw in 2002, and that will actually guarantee victory. But all these lazy talks and blame games are not good for the coalition, Miriam. I submit.
All right, very well, thank you so much. And a lot of this doublespeak and confusion, some of these have been blamed for that perhaps the person behind them is Mutula Kilonzo Jr. I don't know how true that is, but a few times I've seen leaders from Mukambani especially chastising him. So I don't know what he has to do with some of these stands that Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka takes, but that is a developing story, and we will continue talking about it as it continues to develop, I suppose, because I believe that today Kalonzo will say something that has to do with, perhaps the confusion we see now. Okay, the main headline on the Star newspaper, Mudavadi Rigathi best for poll. The story is on page, is it page 6? I don't know if it's page 6. That is according to, no, page 4 and 5 on the Star newspaper. Madira Member of Parliament, Rigathi Gachagua, and ANC boss Musalia Mudavadi have almost equal support as possible running mate for Deputy President William Ruto, a monthly Radio Africa opinion poll now shows. However, veteran politician Peter Kenneth remains the favorite to deputize Raila Odinga, defeating Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka, who has been Raila's second in command in the past 2 elections. The new poll shows Mudavadi remains Ruto's best running mate at 28.7%, followed by Gachagua, who has 28% support. A similar poll last month gave Musalia a 14.3% lead over Gachagua, a month after the former Deputy Prime Minister alongside Ford Kenya's Moses Wetangula teamed up with Ruto in the Kenya Kwanza alliance. However, the battle for Ruto's running mate has triggered a bitter feud in the new alliance, with Gachagua saying the seat has been reserved for Mount Kenya. However, Mudavadi's lieutenants have rubbished the claim, saying Musalia must deputize Ruto as their irreducible minimum. So this new poll, and I don't know if we do have a video there. I heard the deputy president's seat in UDA is reserved for Mount Kenya, and we know what Malala was saying the other day, that it's either Mudavadi is the person that should deputize, Deputy President William Ruto. And so how do you see this playing out, and what is your opinion on this poll?
Yes, Miriam, we know when Musalia, first of all, jumped ship and maybe decamped to William Ruto's side, he promised his supporters that he's going to be an equal partner to William Ruto, and that they were looking forward to have a joint nomination for the presidential candidate. And from history, whatever we know that happens whenever we have these joint nominations is that the person that comes second always deputizes the first the person who emerges as a winner in these nominations. So even here in Western Kenya, the hope was that Musalia Mudavadi will either be the flag bearer of Kenya Kwanza coalition, or maybe in a worst case scenario, he will be the deputy president. But when you look at it, he joined a very crafty coalition, a coalition full of conmen and people who are actually hell-bent in hoodwigging the people of this country. And I actually think that perhaps they should have negotiated. They should have negotiated their place in the government before they joined the Deputy President William Ruto, and therefore coming out and bringing this kind of confusion in Kenya Kwanza coalition.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Okay, we seem to have suffered a bit of a technical hitch from Daniel Wesonga's side. I apologize for that. He's out of Nairobi, so possibilities of poor connection is very high. Wesonga, if you can hear me, good morning. Okay, we seem to have lost him. We seem to have lost not Kalonzo. Kalonzo, we've not lost him. Kalonzo is just trying to get comfortable in his new position. So I think once he does that, maybe he'll understand better that deal that he now says that was signed. And, we were having this conversation a bit earlier. It sounded more like what, Sonko said after signing that deal that gave up some of his powers as Nairobi governor to NMS at State House. And he said, the reason why I signed that deal is because, and I did not understand it, is because I was drunk. And so I did not understand the content of that. But for Kalonzo Musyoka, he does not even drink. So I don't know what will be his excuse now. But he will tell us. Okay, so we seem to have lost, Daniel there. So as I said earlier, we will move shortly to Kasarani, where we shall bring you the live events. The Deputy President had left his current residence, and he left. And after he left, a few minutes later, he drove back. He seemed to have forgotten something. And for the people who are keen to see, apparently he had forgotten his wife. I don't know if that is true. And then he had to go back and pick his wife and head on to that event today. So, all right, as we wait for Daniel to come back. So anyway, the new poll that Daniel was talking about, that when the war of words first erupted, ANC told Gachagua to transition from regional UDA mindset to embrace the broader picture of Kenya Kwanza philosophy. As a party, we are saying if UDA takes the presidential ticket, the ANC will want the position of Deputy President. Kakamega Senator Cleophas Malala declared on Saturday. And people shouldn't, sit together and say that because they come from the mountain. All right. Because we come from the mountain, they deserve to be the deputy president more than us. And I think what I'm talking about was captured in an event that was a public event. So let's just listen in, and then we will continue with this conversation.
Afadhali hii pande ya William Ruto, kwani tunajua kwamba yule ambaye atakuwa deputy president pande ya Kenya Kwanza atakuwa ni mtu ametoka hapa kwa mlima. Lakini venye Kalonzo ameenda pande ile Azimio, inamaanisha amekuwa deputy president wa pande ya Azimio. Watu wa Mount Kenya tumerushwa nje pande ya Azimio. Afadhali pande ya Ruto, kwani hapo mmoja wetu atakuwa deputy president. So ile serikali ya Azimio, sisi watu wa Mount Kenya hatuna na any stake. We do not have any stake on that side of Azimio. The deputy president slot in Azimio side has been given to Kalonzo Musyoka. But in the Kenya Kwanza Alliance, the deputy president slot will go to Mount Kenya. Peter Kenneth has been kicked out. Peter Kenneth amerushwa nje. Saizi wamepatia Kalonzo Musyoka. Basi afadhali hii pande ya William Ruto, kwani wapatapatia mtu wa Mount Kenya kiti cha deputy president.
This time round, we are giving a demand that this is a coalition of parties. This is not a coalition of regions. Watu wasikae mahali pamoja waseme ati kwa sababu hao wamekaa kwa mlima au wanatosha kukua naibu wa rais kuliko sisi ambao tumekaa hapa chini. Sisi kama chama tunasema UDA ikichukua kiti cha president, ANC tunataka kiti cha deputy president. Ama mimi naongea vibaya? Na sisi kama Kenya Kwanza, our agenda is economic revival. Ya kwamba tunataka tuinue uchumi na tunataka tujue ni nani anaweza saidia kufanya kazi ya kuinua uchumi. Leo tumeona deputy president William Ruto kabla apewe tikiti ya kuwania urais kwa UDA ameenda akafanyiwa interview, wakasema yeye anatosha kuwa rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya. Pia tunataka when they will be selecting the deputy president of Kenya Kwanza, mpaka tuweke hao watu kwa ratili, tujue ni nani ako na uzoefu. Tuweke hapo Musalia Mudavadi afanyiwe interview, tuweke hapo huyo Rigathi afanyiwe interview, alafu tuone kati ya Rigathi na Musalia, ni nani anaelewa masuala ya uchumi kuliko mtu mwingine? Ni nani anaelewa? Ni nani anaelewa? Sisi tunasema.
Okay, very well. Daniel Wasonga, I apologize. I had a bit of a technical hitch where we lost you there, but we were looking at the Deputy President's position debate and this opinion poll. And right now they're just playing a clip of Kenyatta earlier on there saying that the deputy positions in UDA is reserved for the Mount Kenya, what Gachagua has been saying. And also Malala a couple of days ago, was saying, the video that just concluded, that the deputy position in the UDA should be given to Musalia Mudavadi. And of course, he, tried to tell us why he felt the way he felt. So how do you see this playing out in UDA? Is it signs that...
Thank you so much, Miriam. And of course, like I told you, when Musalia Mudavadi went to UDA, or maybe the Kenya Kwanza coalition, there was an impression or maybe hope in Western Kenya that they're going to be going for a joint maybe nomination. And we've seen that in 2007, we've seen that in 2013 and 2017, where the opposition luminaries came together and jointly nominated their presidential candidate. And whoever always comes second to this is actually given the deputy or the running mate position. So the best case scenario, it was that Musalia Mudavadi would be the flag bearer. And the worst case scenario, that he would be at least number 2 and become the running mate. So that is the kind of mentality perhaps which they went to in UDA. But being that UDA is as crafty as its party leader, we anticipated this kind of scenario. And that is why yesterday I said it would have been so quite prudent if Cleophas Malala and his team would have negotiated for something in UDA before signing any pact or maybe before joining the bandwagon, and it will have done them justice. That is why we have the Political Parties Act of 2021, which actually stipulates a very, very solid law, which coalition formations by political parties can be anchored on to ensure that there is no party which will cry foul after the elections. There is no party which will be changed, and there is nothing which will be altered from the coalition that is signed, the coalition agreement that is signed. So, to me, I see a very delicate scenario and a slippery road for Kenya Kwanza coalition, because if they do not give the Kikuyu people, the Mount Kenya people, the deputy president position or the running mate position, then it's going to be trouble for William Ruto. Likewise, Musalia Mudavadi only got 483 votes in 2013 when he ran for presidency. That is what I was explaining, sorry. And of course, out of that, a paltry maybe 200,000 votes came from Western Kenya, and the rest of maybe 100 and something thousand votes came scattered across the country. So I would say that if now with that kind of vote that he had in 2013, and owing to the fact that this time round he goes and he is not the presidential candidate, or the worst case scenario, he's not even anywhere on the ballot, then I believe he will not get the Luhya votes, because the Luhya votes now will consolidate behind Raila Odinga, and that will give the Azimio la Umoja an edge over the Kenya Kwanza coalition. So either way, it is a double-edged sword for the Kenya Kwanza coalition. If they choose a running mate from Mount Kenya region, they'll be pretty sure they're going to lose a considerable number of votes from Western Kenya. If they choose Musalia, then he should forget about a considerable number of Mount Kenya votes. So to him, it's either way. It is a scenario where whether the frog jumps into the fire or the fire falls on the frog, then the frog will burn. So to me, I think that is the scenario, Miriam. And very pretty soon, maybe before the end of April, we shall be knowing who is going to be deputizing the deputy president. But all I know, it's going to be trouble for them, because when you compare them with Azimio la Umoja, for Azimio, they have been very, very maybe categorical that their deputy president is going to come from Mount Kenya, or else maybe perhaps sometimes they might also look the Kalonzo Musyoka way, which to me doesn't really shift the Azimio's fortunes quite much, because even at the end of the day, the Mount Kenya region was, when we were beginning the politics, was 98% behind William Ruto. So even if Raila Odinga with Kalonzo Musyoka are going to get only 30% or 20% in Mount Kenya, that is very, very impressive. Because this is a region where, over history, Raila Odinga has never gone past 3% of their vote. So 30% will actually be a landslide victory for him. And if he chooses a running mate from Mount Kenya region, then we might be looking at maybe 50% plus votes going to Azimio in Mount Kenya region. So to me, Miriam, this one, I look at it as a Kenya Kwanza problem, and it's either way. So there's no escape route here for William Ruto. So time will tell, but that is what I see. Either way he goes, there must be implications, and these implications will be negative to his presidential bid, Miriam. I submit.
All right, very well. And on Raila's side, Peter Kenneth takes the lead with 31.9%, followed by Kalonzo at 18.1%. The poll was conducted at a time of uncertainty over Kalonzo's political future, with former Vice President insisting that Raila should support him for the top job. He displayed a 2017 agreement showing that the ODM boss was to support him in August 2022 poll. The Wiper team has also insisted that their man must get at least a running mate slot in the Azimio One Kenya Alliance deal. Karua also features strongly on Raila's side with a 13.6% support as possible running mate. And Mombasa Governor Hassan Joho, Mudavadi and Alfred Mutua have 8.3%, 6.3% and 7.3% support respectively as possible Raila's mates. I think at this point perhaps it is safe to rule out Martha Karua, I don't know, as a possible running mate for Raila, because she has not, her party has not even signed a coalition agreement with Azimio La Umoja. So Peter Kenneth seems to be on the lead, and the reason why, according to this story, he seems to be on the lead as the possible running mate for Raila Odinga was because during the time that this poll was being carried out, Kalonzo had not made up his mind whether he wants to work with Raila or not. So if that poll was to be carried out today, do you think that numbers might change?
Miriam, I don't think numbers will change. And Martha Karua, there's nothing Martha Karua can bring on the table. How many MPs does NARC Kenya have? How many MCAs does NARC Kenya have? There is nothing at all from Martha Karua's party. That's a shell party, a party which lost its essence once Mwai Kibaki formed PNU. She just like Moses Kuria, she formed NARC Kenya hoping that it will be the presidential vehicle for re-election for Mwai Kibaki, only for the team to actually come up with a party of national unity. So to me, I think Martha Karua is actually an overrated politician. And I agree with the opinion polls as they are. I know Peter Kenneth and Kalonzo Musyoka at the moment, the top ranking perhaps in terms of the preferred running mates for Raila Odinga. And it actually can be seen from the way they work together, the dalliance and all that. And when you look at William Ruto, Rigathi Gachagua is actually the more preferred one in maybe becoming his running mate. And that will be a collab of thieves, Miriam. They all have corruption allegations behind their backs. They all have unscrupulous ways on which they acquired their wealth. They cannot even account for a single penny of their wealth, the wealth that they acquired. These are billionaires who do not have any manufacturing industry, who only own a few properties here and there, and they have a lot of black trail behind their backs. And therefore, that will be an unfortunate ticket for Kenya. It's a doomed ticket of Rigathi Gachagua and William Ruto. The other ticket is also of Musalia Mudavadi, an equally corrupt but sanctimonious man who always pretends to be the cool guy who knows about the economy, who was a finance minister for 6 months, and he talks more about it without giving substantial details about it, of which we know. During his time as the finance minister is when Goldenberg scandal happened in Kenya. That was the time when the pay-as-you-earn tax actually was raised by 500%. So these are crooked men. These are evil men who have stolen from this country more than any other person. And therefore, I see that as a possibility because, they say that birds of a feather flock together. And that is why those two are the most favorable for William Ruto. And of course, on this other side, we have the likes of Kalonzo Musyoka, who has worked with Raila twice. And of course, Peter Kenneth, who has become a close confidant since Raila Odinga had the handshake with President Uhuru Kenyatta. So, Miriam, I believe the polls are quite on point. However, this electioneering period also, we have to be careful about the pollsters. We realize that in Kenya, the pollsters are actually guns for hire, and they will give you a very, very much disillusioned and lopsided opinion polls, owing to maybe who has paid the piper.
Okay.
So we might get very, very outrageous polls coming out, showing someone's popularity maybe at this percentage against the others at this particular percentage, without them telling you that this is not scientific and they never conducted even a poll. So we also have unscrupulous pollsters. But for this one, I believe that is the reality of the matter. Martha Karua cannot come anywhere closer to the picture, Miriam. I submit.
All right, thank you so much. And I'm afraid right now we have to move on for this the live streaming of the event at Kasarani, where Deputy President today will be crowned the presidential flag bearer of the UDA party after two other contestants were disqualified. And I think that is a conversation we had yesterday. So let's just go there and then we shall come back a bit later. A very good morning to you.
Welcome to the UDA National Delegates Congress 2022.
Aya, asanteni, sasa munaweza keti. Ningependa tuanze kwa maombi na tafadhali Reverend Kaberia, please welcome. So